Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Operation Freedom Briefings. The goal of these briefings and my weekly radio show, Operation Freedom, is to provide you information the bought-off lamestream fake media is not going to touch. You can join us at davejanda.com, our radio show every Sunday, 2 to 5 Eastern. Stream it live, free, davejanda.com, upper right-hand corner, hit the listen button. You can come to our platform, davejanda.com. We're on call for you 24/7. We have a tremendous amount of free information there for you. We also have a subscription service, 30 cents a day. I think one of the biggest bangs for the buck in all of the internet, where we upload 3 other shows, the WTF show, our Insider Insight show, Department of Advanced Research show, where we focus on issues that the fake media is not going to touch. I want to do a quick YouTube today on 3 current issues: the Caravan Mob, pipe bombs, and Trump's iPhones. Okay, first the Caravan Mob. Don't you think the timing of this is interesting? Suspect? I think it is. I mean, if you look at where this caravan, we started to hear about it, and when it's going to potentially get to the borders of the United States, we're talking about right around the midterm elections. Isn't that interesting? How convenient. And it's interesting because the amount of miles that these folks have to travel are significant. They're obviously not all walking that distance. And in fact, I understand that there are 60 trucking companies that have been involved in the logistics of moving these people these hundreds of miles to get to the United States border, so they hit right around midterm election time. And also, while we're talking about logistics, think of it. Have you seen the bought-off lamestream fake media showing all the porta potties out there? Or the food distribution systems? Because you know it's occurring. Right, and as I understand it, there's even evidence that some of these porta potties are being actually transported from within the United States down there to be utilized by this Caravan Mob. Now let's talk about the funding of this. Reportedly, and I believe on the people who are telling me this, a lot of the funding for this is actually coming through the globalist syndicate, in particular NGOs, non-governmental organizations funded by Soros and organizations associated with Soros and the globalist syndicate. I mean, they're pummeling their bank accounts, something crazy on this. I mean, we're talking tens of millions, even maybe a couple $100 million for this PR event to look negatively on Trump and how he handles it. I mean, that's the whole idea of this, right? It's not about people seeking freedom. I mean, let's face it. You know, when my great-grandparents came from the Czech Republic, they weren't flying a Czech Republic flag as they tried to enter into the United States. These people are not waving American flags. They're waving Guatemalan flags and Honduran flags and Ecuadorian flags, and they're seeking asylum for their countries, yet they're still waving their flags? It makes no sense. This isn't people coming to immigrate because of being discriminated against in their countries. It's an invasion force funded by the globalist syndicate. And the logistics being set up by the globalist syndicate. And let's look at some of the players within it. It's been reported, Trump's gotten grief for this, but actually my sources confirm this, that there are MS-13 gang members in this, drug runners, human traffickers, pedophile networkers. There are terrorists in these organizations, in this mob, coming from the Middle East, coming from Africa, Al-Qaeda derivatives. One of my sources has very excellent contacts into Iran, they reported actually to the United States government over a month ago that they had evidence that over 1,000 individuals that had been trained in Iranian terrorist camps had been sent into Honduras, Guatemala, and Ecuador. Now, what's been the reaction of politicians here in the United States? We have the typical globalists, Schumer and Pelosi. We can't discriminate against people coming to our country. They're running from hostility. Okay. And what is their plan? What is their plan? Just to open the border to these? And by the way, number-wise, first it was 1,000, then 7,000, then 15,000. One of my sources has told me that actually there are so many people coming into this caravan mob that figure could well swell to up to 100, if not over 100,000 of these folks coming and invading our southern border. I don't see any solutions put forward by the globalist puppets in our government, whether it's a Pelosi or a Schumer or a Cory Booker or a Kamala Harris or a Paul Ryan or any of them. They're mute. And the only person addressing this is Trump. And he's saying, we're not going to let them in our country. Now, is that going to create a situation where if we send the military down, that all of a sudden there's going to be this violent confrontation and people are going to die? I hope not. But we just can't let thousands of people illegally into our country and just say, in knowing full well there are terrorist MS-13 members in it, Iranian-trained terrorists in there. What about the people here? What about our current American citizens? The government's role is the security and protection of its citizens. Period. This is nuts. I have a prediction, though. You see, there's so many divergent gangs that the globalists have assembled in this group to kind of hide in the middle of this group. I don't think they can get along. I don't think they can get along from the time period from now to when they would hit our border. I predict there's going to be a civil war within that mob, within that caravan mob, and some really bad people are probably going to die, but also some innocent people that were paid money and said, go up to the United States, here's a bunch of cash, and they'll take care of you when you get up there. So the mainstream media is going to show, if they ever get down there, some women that have been killed and some children that have been killed that all could have been prevented. But they're going to show that and they're going to try to blame Trump. And it wasn't Trump who killed these people. Understand, just as Trump is pointing the finger at the Federal Reserve and saying the financial problems we're having are related to them, the globalists, the tentacle of the globalist syndicate, the Federal Reserve, the finger needs to be pointed at the globalist syndicate that funded this operation, that funded the logistics, that brought these divergent terrorists together and wrapped them up in this package on the outside of women and children. It's sick, but it's how the globalist syndicate does business. My prediction is you're going to see a civil war within that caravan mob. And yes, there are going to be innocent victims because of that. But to point the finger at Trump or somebody who's trying to prevent this from happening or trying to protect current American citizens and our border is wrong. The finger needs to be pointed at the Soroses of the world and the globalist syndicate. They're the ones who caused this. All right, let's talk pipe bombs. That's the other story out there. It's horrendous. Whoever perpetrated this, just as the people who perpetrated sending similar kind of devices or powder that was masquerading as some type of chemical biologic weapon against the Trump family, those people were arrested and prosecuted. Whoever did this needs to be prosecuted and arrested. Whether they're right, whether they're left, whether they're green, whether they're marsh, who cares? They need to be prosecuted. This is not something you do. I've talked to a couple people I know who are demolition experts, munitions experts. They said, it's kind of weird that the media would take a picture of an unexploded piece of ordnance. That's hazardous to that photographer's life, but it's really odd. And when they looked at these devices, and they haven't handled them, but when they looked at them on the pictures, they said, these are more meant to scare people than to blow up. And the delivery method of using the U.S. mail for a pipe bomb is not an effective means of delivering an explosive device to harm somebody. It's meant as a message. Either way, message or trying to kill somebody, whoever did it needs to be prosecuted and needs to be arrested. Who are the potential goofballs that could have done this? Well, some right-wing wacko or some group of right-wing wackos. But, and I know this is politically incorrect to say this, but it needs to be said. My friends who are former homicide detectives have all taught me you have to look at everybody. Who benefits? Always the big question. Who benefits? We need to look at this being essentially a false flag operation as well. I'm not saying it is. I'm saying we have to look at it. Could it be that this is a way to gain sympathy for some players that could be indicted in the near future, such as Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, John Brennan, Eric Holder? Funny, the people they picked. All people that have been targeted and what appears to be potential players in the upcoming rule of law reset. I've gone on record as saying one of the first people that I understand is going to be brought in front of the military tribunals is John Brennan, the former director of the CIA under Obama for sedition and treason. Funny that one was sent to him at the CNN building while he works for MSNBC as an analyst, but that they would pick Brennan. We need to get to the facts. Right now, we don't have the answers, but we have to keep everything on the table. And to just say this is going to be a right-wing nut job and not look at the other options, such as a false flag operation to gain sympathy for some of these deep state players who are middle-level puppets of the globalist syndicates, such as the Obamas and the Clintons and the Brennans of the world, we need to include that as an option, and it needs to be pursued. The hope is we're going to get some arrests of who perpetrated this crime and we're going to get some answers. But always ask the question, as my detective buddies have taught me, who benefits? Now let's move on to Trump's iPhone. This came out last night. The New York Times blockbuster story. Headline, China and Russia eavesdrop on calls made from Trump's personal iPhone. First, it was conversations this is from Zero Hedge, with Russian officials in the Oval Office. Then it was meetings with Japanese and Chinese leaders in the dining room at Mar-a-Lago. Now the New York Times is going after President Trump for his insistence on talking to friends and family on his personal cell phone, which he has refused to give up despite pleas from his national security staff. The New York Times has dropped its latest Trump bombshell, in quotes, claiming that China and Russia are routinely spying on Trump's personal calls and are using the information gleaned from their surveillance to steer an influence campaign intended to soften President Trump's protectionist policies. Okay, here's what I know about that. Trump's phone calls, his phone calls, have all been cloaked by a technology called DEF, D-E-A-F, since before he started running for president of the United States. That system has been in place, and it is in place to this day. Now, the DEF, D-E-A-F, go to a browser. It stands for Defense Enabling and Assisted Framework. His calls have been cloaked in this technology so that Russia and China, they can try all they want. But it's my understanding that Trump has had this technology on his phone number, and the 96 people that are close to him, who he calls on a regular basis, their phone numbers also have had this technology installed, and their phone conversations are all cloaked. So the Russian and Chinese might be trying to do this, but according to my sources, and I've been in touch with the company that's involved in this, it's my understanding that if a phone number is cloaked in that technology, they cannot get access to the conversations that occur. It's also my understanding that at one point, Nancy Pelosi sent her son's wife, by the name of Nicole, to that company to try to get the deaf technology for Hillary back in 2016. And it's my understanding that the company refused. But it is my understanding that Trump has had access, his phone number has been cloaked in that technology since 2016. And according to the people I've spoken to, that there is no way China or Russia could access those conversations because of that technology. Now, what's being said by the bought-off lamestream fake media is, well, because Trump is doing this is no different than Hillary having a personal illegal server because, well, yes, the Chinese did get access to tens of thousands of her emails, which, by the way, led to 18 agents of our intelligence agencies getting killed in China. Well, this is no different than, yes, it is different. Because these are personal phone calls, number one, all the confidential information, all the classified information, he doesn't speak on over that phone, it's my understanding, number one. Number two, the cloaking technology completely protects those conversations of the personal friends of these 96 other numbers that are covered. So when they start spinning this, that, well, there's no difference between Hillary's illegal servers, plural, and what Trump is doing with his iPhone, that's all BS. That's globalist propaganda, and you need to realize that. I hope you'll join us on our platform, davejanda.com. On the free side, again, we upload information on a regular basis. On the subscription side, 30 cents a day, $9 a month. You can sign up for a month. You don't like it, get rid of it. Not sure why you would. Information you get from us, you're not going to get from other sources. I hope you'll join us. I hope you'll join us on our radio show. I hope you'll join us on our YouTube platform. Subscribe to our platform at davejanda.com and also our YouTube platform, Operation Freedom. I thank you for your time, and as we sign off every broadcast, dream big and dare to fail. Thank you for joining me today and for giving me your time.